dominated the world have used money to rule it and have ruled it in their own interest. It looks at a world economic system that has no regard for the poor, that has no regard for the small nations, that has no regard for the poor of the small nations. And the policy is a dignified policy, is not a violent policy, is not a policy of guns. It's a very honorable policy, but it is a very clear policy. It is a policy that calls the poor of the world to stand together, to stand firm together, to struggle together, to struggle for change, to struggle for justice, to struggle through organization, to struggle through will, to struggle through determination, to struggle to build a new kind of world in which your children and mine will walk with more dignity, with better housing, with better opportunity, with better prices, with better response from the World Monetary System. That is the world to which I call you. That is the world for which I struggle, and no power will turn me back from that world. And comrades, if you go and walk with me, if you go and step with me, if you go and move with me, we're moving as warriors. We're moving in determination. We're moving to struggle. We're moving to change that world. No power will turn us back.
Me ever fresh, me no green.
Me coulda never green, dog. Me no chow chow. No. Ha 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 ho ho. Who ya know?
But if change is what we really want to see, ladies and gentlemen, then we must rise up. We must unite. We must advocate. We cannot remain silent. Where are the young men, the young women, the men, the women, the boys, the girls who will put aside political divide and do what is best for Jamaica? Eternal Father, bless our land. Guide us with thy mighty hand. Keep us free from evil powers. Be our light through countless hours. Even our pledge, our national pledge, says before God and all mankind, we cannot see a better Jamaica unless we return to the foot of the cross. Jamaica under God must increase in beauty, fellowship and prosperity, and play our part.
If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Blessings to you all. Wow, you see who pop up on the screen a while ago? It means that we're going to have a conversation about the Prime Minister in a little bit. We won't start it off with him because one of my sources made it very clear that there was a blatant lie told by the Prime Minister, and not enough persons are talking about this. As a matter of fact, not even many of our MPs, many of our opposition leaders, not many of them have really taken up this conversation. And just before the show started, I was sent the information, and I will do my due diligence to explore what was said and to expose every lie, every misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda. Let me wish you all a pleasant evening. Somebody is saying in the comments, powerful words from Martin Luther King. Listen, he has always been an inspiration for me. As you all may know, I am myself a man of God, not a perfect man of God, but I'm a man of God. And I represent Christ wherever I go. And when I look at the life of Martin Luther King and others who were a part of the church community, but they also advocated for justice, equity, freedom, human rights. When you see how these persons merged God and the fight for better when it comes to our society, I am inspired. I'm only even more inspired to walk in the footsteps of those who have paved the way for Bible-believing Christians to not only go to church on Sundays or on Sabbaths and preach a long sermon, but to get involved in the advocacy wherever you are. So whether you're in Jamaica, whether you're in the United States of America, it is also our responsibility, it's our duty to speak the truth and speak it ever, cost it what it will. Let me just do a big shout out to everybody who is joining in. Listen, we're doing our official launch over here at The Perspective starting January, which begins what? Thursday? I believe Thursday is the 1st of January. So we'll be doing a proper launch. I know Ishmael won't tell me no. A big shout out to Ishmael, right? And I will actually approach Mr. Stevens and even ISAT if they would like to come over and give a shout out, because I want persons to know that my platform wasn't born out of any malice or bad vibes or bad blood. I want to make it very clear that I have always had a YouTube channel. If you do the research, I had a YouTube channel made from 2020, and I always did YouTube videos, but I stopped, right? I didn't have the passion for YouTube over the years until recently, right? I believe getting involved with PDTV, I found a new sense of purpose for my YouTube channel. And I can say delayed but not denied. Look at it. From 2020, I had this YouTube channel long before I knew who was Andre Stevens, long before I met Ishmael and others. I've always had this YouTube channel, but I didn't know what to post. Back then I posted church content and things of that nature, but I got involved over by TikTok, and TikTok blew up. So I just never had the vibes for YouTube. But look at we. Look at us. Look at us. Look at all of we. You understand what I'm saying? So purpose cannot die. Purpose cannot die. Let me do a big shout out. If you're viewing from Jamaica, let me know what parish you're watching from. If you're using a Starlink, let me know if you're using a Starlink, because everybody get bossy. I was at a EP launch. I supported Apostle Siobhan Lawrence with her EP launch in Portmore at the Heart Academy. And when I tell you that the technicians and the sound men, when they were doing their live streaming, I'm gonna post some clips from that live streaming. A Starlink, everybody, Starlink are using at the church now. Big up St. Mary, Manchester, St. Catherine. Any other persons joining in from Jamaica land we love? I pledge my heart forever. Serve with humble pride. The shining homeland. Listen, Jamaica is a beautiful country. It doesn't matter what Melissa brought to our shores. We are going to bounce back stronger than ever. I'm seeing persons from Maryland. I heard somebody's from UK, Canada. Somebody's from the Cayman Islands, Florida. Go on, man. Let me do a roll call. Roll call, brother, sister. Roll call. New Jersey. I see another Cayman Island. God bless you. No. Somebody's from Clarendon. All things being equal, I should be going to Clarendon next week, Sunday, to preach. I hope I'll see some of you. Montreal, Canada. Montreal, Canada is where Walter Rodney went when he advocated for the blacks, and the Labor Right administration under the auspices of Hugh Shearer banned him. Banned him. But big up Montreal. I'm seeing New York, Bronx, Western Canada. Persons who are from Spanish Town, bless up yourself. Portmore. I was in Portmore. Listen, today is Sunday. Today is Sunday, and church was good. The message was about remembering that hell is real. You think I'm going to come over here and talk about politics every day? Hell is real. And the preacher today on the last Sunday in 2025, a big shout out to Minister Robinson. Minister Robinson didn't hold back. He reminded us as church people. He reminded the unsaved who packed out church today that hell is a real place. That hell is hot. And if we don't turn around, if we don't get it right, we will burn in hell. And heaven is also real. So if you don't want to go to hell, there is a place that you can go. Ladies and gentlemen, the last time I was live, which was what, yesterday? When I was ending the live, we were just touching 100 live viewers. I have not started the program properly, and we are at nearly 300 viewers. Somebody said, to God be the glory. Growth is a must. If you never go to church today, I'm going to give you a little piece of what church is like for me.
I said I'm happy every day as I travel through this land. I've been mighty blessed by God, and I'm holding to his hand. Yes, mommy, I see you. Yes, the journey's almost over. Shut up. And the battle is nearly won. And I have a feeling. I have a feeling in my heart. The best is yet to come. Slide up it over there, so who not ready to get, who not get up now, man. Who not get up now, man. I feel mad in this place. Let's go. I am happy every day as I travel through this land. I've been mighty blessed by God, and I'm holding to his. Over there, so I said the journey's almost over. I know the battle is nearly won, and I have a feeling in my heart the best is yet. Come on, sir. I said the best is yet to come. When I walk through heaven's gates, yeah, I said the first time I'll see G.
All right. The best is yet to come. Ladies and gentlemen, let's kick things off by saying a big, big happy birthday to one of the stalwarts of the People's National Party, Dr. Peter Phillips, OJMP. Let us all wish Dr. Peter Phillips a big happy birthday. Listen, I have had probably just a few conversations with him, but the few conversations that I've had tells me enough that we do have people who genuinely love Jamaica. I'm not saying this because Mr. Phillips is a PNP. He's a veteran or a political, face for the PNP. I'm saying this because I have genuinely discerned that you do have people in leadership who genuinely loves Jamaica. And that's just the truth of it. I want persons to love Jamaica first before you love any political party. I want people to love Jamaica first before you love any politician. Because if you love Jamaica first, then it will be much easier for us to support proper politicians, proper leaders who will put Jamaica first and not themselves or their pockets first. So, a big happy birthday to Mr. Phillips, Dr. Peter Phillips. We wish you a happy birthday and we hope that you will live to see many more years. You understand what I'm saying? It's always a blessing to see another birthday. I saw in the comments where somebody's son is celebrating birthday today as well. I'd also want to give a big shout out to your son and one of my friends, Dr. Samantha McLeod, recently graduated from the University of the West Indies. Like myself, we're in the same class of 2025. Graduation is on the 17th of January, I believe. She's also celebrating her birthday today. And I want to extend a big happy birthday to her and just about everybody else who is celebrating today. I mean, December is not the best month, I'm just putting that out there. I don't know why a lot of you December people feel as if December is the best thing since last week. Big up to the birthday still, but I'm very biased when it comes to my birthday. Big up to everybody who was born in a day, on a day in April. Big up all the April people on the live today. So when April come, we will all celebrate. Big up April. Big up April. All right, when that time comes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm still talking about SSL, a number of things to talk about. But I'm hearing, ladies and gentlemen, that these people were granted bail. Is it true? Is it true? And how do you feel about that? Don't worry. Come January, some of my very good destiny helpers will ensure that I have a phone to take some calls. Listen, anything that you see here, I didn't buy it. The equipment wasn't bought by me, right? The lights never bought by me. Everybody who just wanted to see this vision come to fruition, ensure that I had everything that I needed to get started. And I want to say a big thank you to all those who believe in the mission. But I'm hearing, ladies and gentlemen, that Hugh Crosscarry, that's how he pronounces his name, the daughter Sarah Meany and Zachary Harding. Is it true? But I'm hearing that it was station build. And this is where I wanted to clarify a few things. And you see, over the perspective, we're not just going to run with what we see. We are going to get into the nitty-gritty of it. It's very important that we understand that it is not entirely far-fetched for persons to be granted bail on the weekend. There has to be certain criteria that will allow persons to be granted bail on the weekend. And I'm pretty sure that persons in the comment section knows exactly where I'm going with this. My issue is not whether they got bail, yes or no. Remember, you are innocent until proven guilty. But I'm talking about the other persons who were not granted bail, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm talking about. You talk about Pantan. Don't believe it's just Pantan alone. There are many other people who were denied bail who had similarities in the case that we are dealing with today in the form of an SSL. So I'm asking this question today, ladies and gentlemen. Why is it that in this country, some can get through and others cannot get through? Why? Why? We live in a society, ladies and gentlemen, where it seems as if you're a part of a certain family, because what has been brought to my knowledge and to my understanding is that you have a set of families who run this country. And nobody want to really talk about these things, you know. But you have a certain set of families, ladies and gentlemen, that run this country, believe it or not. Whether you want to agree with me, yes or no, I am going to let it be very clear that there are a set of families that run this country. And if you check which family is connected to that family and who that family is connected to, then you realize the issue that we are facing. Because if you don't have a certain name, if you don't come from a certain background, you can get through. You can get through. So I'm not against them getting bail. I am asking, why is it that some people can get the bail and others cannot? So I'm going to play a short video so you can understand the dangers of corruption if we continue to let this cancer eat away at the very fabric of our society.
Power for private gain. Whether it's paying a bribe to access public services like healthcare and education, or whether it's money laundering schemes involving billions in dirty money, what's important is how corruption affects you. And the cost of corruption can be enormous. Corruption can cost you your livelihood, your rights, your health, your freedom, and sometimes even your life. It erodes democratic freedoms, rule of law, and trust in government. Corruption also reduces your chances for a healthy environment and sustainable future. When money meant to tackle the climate crisis is stolen, that's your future being taken from you. When money meant to improve your local schools, hospitals, and roads is snatched away, opportunities for a better life are lost with it. When money meant to improve your government and the rule of law is stolen, so too is your chance for a more just and secure future. Every year we lose billions to corruption, billions that were supposed to improve all of our lives, our opportunities, and our communities. At times, the scale of the problem can seem overwhelming, but corruption is not inevitable. Together, we have the power to stop corruption. Join us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we live on a plantation system. That's a terminology that we learned when we were doing that poli-sci degree up by UWI. We live in what we call a plantation society, and I'm going to just briefly explain to you why is it that Jamaica is the way it is, and why it seems as if persons from the upper echelons of society seem to get away with murder on so many occasions. It is because of the plantation society that we exist. Now, if you hear the terminology plantation system or plantation society, then we're talking as far back as slavery and how the plantation itself was set up. I want persons to listen to what I'm saying tonight, because we're going to be defining some terminologies as we enter into this season of advocacy, right? As we enter into this season of advocacy for 2026, it cannot be mediocre advocacy. We're going to go back to the very beginning, to the genesis of things, and understand why our society is designed in the way it is. One person is to understand that. So let me give you a definition that I have in my notes, right? So we can understand why Jamaica is the way it is. Plantation society theory, it's actually a theory pioneered by thinkers such as George Beckford. Who remember George Beckford? George Beckford wrote many of our books up by Huey, Understanding the Caribbean History and the colonial, commonality that many of our small states shared. And he has written many other books. But plantation society theory, pioneered by thinkers such as George Beckford. I wonder if it is a George Beckford in the comments that I'm seeing here. Big up yourself, George Beckford, 796. Aye. Is that George Beckford? Eh?
Something all right. Something all right, yeah.
I wonder if that's the George Beckford. Well, ladies and gentlemen, George Beckford posited a theory, and the views are like this. The view is that societies, especially in the Caribbean, as fundamentally, and they are fundamentally shaped by the legacy of slave-based export crop culture, creating rigid class hierarchies. Listen to what I'm saying tonight. White owners, intermediate groups, and black labor. Extractive economies and social structures like unstable families that persist long after slavery ends, linking present underdevelopment to colonial systems. Ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, what this is really saying, and we don't have to make it a complicated discussion, is that the plantation society had mainly three classes of people. You had the whites, the plantation owners. Yes? You had the intermediate, the mulattoes, some people call them, the ones who were mixed, what we call high-colored people. Them not white, but them high-colored. Based on what I'm seeing in social media, many persons believe that is this mulatto mixing is what is giving a lot of these people the byway and the leeway to get away with murder. But we'll come to that a little later. You have the whites, you have the mulattoes, and then you had the blacks. Let's take it a step further. You had the whites, you had the house slaves, and you had the field slaves. The house slaves are those who would work in the plantation owner's house, and normally the servants in the house, the women, they were normally sometimes raped even by some of the plantation owners, and that's how you would see what we call brown people and mixed people, because the white plantation owners oftentimes had women working in the house, and they will rape them, molest them, and do all manner of evil. And because these children were the offspring of the plantation owners, they were given certain privileges. Oh my God, I'm setting this foundation because I want persons to understand where we are as a society. And you would have those persons, but then you would have the field slaves who were considered at the very lowest of the hierarchy on the plantation system. And those are the ones who would work in the cane pieces, they would work on the patches of land, they would work on certain farms and things of that nature. they were treated with the utmost disrespect in some of the most inhumane ways. Ladies and gentlemen, believe me when I tell you this today, that very same plantation society exists today in Jamaica. This very same system exists today in Jamaica, but in a different way. Because what we have, and check it out, if you should just do an observation as to the type of people that wields a certain type of power in our country, many of them, they are either very white or they're from white descent. That is just an objective observation. And then when you look down on the social ladder and of the social class, you realize that as you come further down the social ladder, you realize that there is a set of people who are forming the base of this social pyramid. Oftentimes it's the blacks. No, I'm not making this a race issue. I'm not making this a skin problem. But the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, that Jamaica is still existing in a system where we favor those of a certain pigmentation. And it is the truth. Whether you want to agree with me, this is the truth. So persons are saying, look at what is happening in Jamaica today. You can have persons who were denied bail that had a very similar situation to what we're experiencing now with SSL, but they weren't given the opportunity to get a bail. But certain families, certain people of certain backgrounds and cut from certain cloths, people can still get bail because of what? They have friends in high places. These are my opinions tonight. People can still get the bail because of what? Or even for less. Yvonne and Perry. Even for less. Why is that so? We have a broken system in Jamaica. Call the spade a spade tonight. We have a broken system that we have allowed to fester over the decades. And it has reached a place, ladies and gentlemen, where it seems as if it is so hard for us to fix it. People can get away with murder. And now you see where the distrust is coming from. Because I've been just surveying social media. I've been surfing the net. And many people, many persons, they don't have no faith in the legal system. Already people are saying that these people will walk free. What do you think? People are already saying, Perry, don't even waste your time. And dry out your voice and because nothing will come of this. It shouldn't be, ladies and gentlemen, that we have such a major scandal in Jamaica. For 3 years, it has been ongoing. And no persons are just being brought to the fore. So what was happening in the interim? Many people don't have any faith in this. Many people are saying, Perry, it's just for show. It's just to try and distract people from even greater things. Ladies and gentlemen, open your eyes and realize that the plantocracy that we are experiencing today, it didn't come out of thin air. This is coming from white supremacists, from the colonial rule, who have introduced a rigid system to oppress the lower class of people. This is a broken system. It's a broken system. Corruption is at an all-time high. When I said this, you had some persons who supported other political parties telling me that everywhere is corrupt. That's not the conversation we're having. We're talking about how we've allowed a web of corruption to affect every nook and cranny in this country, and nobody is willing to hold these people accountable in the right way. It is a deception. We must break out of our colonial past. Very often we look at colonial past as just not being able to vote, or not being able to experience certain rights, or not being able to occupy certain jobs, or not being able to do such and such a thing. Holding on to our colonial past also involves attaching ourselves to a corrupt system that was intentionally created to promote the rich and to oppress the poor. That is also holding on to our colonial past. So you have some mulattoes, you have some mixed people. When I can go say, I call people mulattoes. You have some people who are at the intermediate level. They are not black, but they are not white. And they have gotten away with murder because of their skin color. Many of them get away with murder because you recognize that they have a certain amount of wealth. And because the love of money is the root of all evil, people get away with evil acts because they can palm somebody X and X amount of money. It is a disgrace. It is sickening. Look at how the year is ending. How many persons are really understanding that this is not coincidental? Look at how the year is ending, ladies and gentlemen. The year is ending on a note to remind us that we have not broken away from our colonial history. It is a shame. And we talk about freedom. What is freedom? What is freedom? Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. We talk about the freedom to do this and the freedom to do that. Under this administration, if we're not careful, we don't have the freedom to even talk. You don't have the freedom to even express yourself. You don't have the freedom to advocate. You don't have the freedom to cry out and spare none anymore. So what freedom are we talking about? When we talk about freedom, people must be free from corruption too. When we say people must be free, we must be free from nepotism. The people should not have to suffer because rich people and their family members and friends, you only realize that this is a family thing. Father and daughter brought in because they have connections to fraud. What type of syndicate is this? Now I'm going to say something that a lot of persons will have to accept. You have families, ladies and gentlemen, that are supposedly involved in corruption. It's a family business. It's a father and son, brother and sister. My God. So is the whole family tree of them one by one.
One by one, who no go into jail. One by, who no go into, one by.
So it's a family business. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to the clip again. Because a lot of persons believe that corruption has no implication on us. People believe that corruption does not affect us. Listen to what this video is saying. It's very short. Listen. Want you to listen and listen well.
What is corruption? To us, it's simple. Corruption is the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. Whether it's paying a bribe to access public services like healthcare and education, or whether it's money laundering schemes involving billions in dirty money, what's important is how corruption affects you. And the cost of corruption can be enormous. Corruption can cost you your livelihood, your rights, your health, your freedom, and sometimes even your life. It erodes democratic freedoms, rule of law, and trust in government. Corruption also reduces your chances for a healthy environment and sustainable future. When money meant to tackle the climate crisis is stolen, that's your future being taken from you. When money meant to improve your local schools, hospitals, and roads is snatched away, opportunities for a better life are lost with it. When money meant to improve your government and the rule of law is stolen, so too is your chance for a more just and secure future. Every year we lose billions to corruption, billions that were supposed to improve all of our lives, our opportunities, and our communities. At times, the scale of the problem can seem overwhelming, but corruption is not inevitable. Together, we have the power to stop corruption. Join us.
Corruption has the potential, ladies and gentlemen, to affect us in many ways. From our health, to our national security, job opportunities, what else? Food security. Corruption erodes. Corruption causes a great deal of decay right across the very fabric of our society. It was today at church I was having the conversation with one of my church brothers after church. And we were talking about just how silent the entire country has become as relates to hurricane relief. So let me ask you guys a question tonight on the perspective. You believe that hurricane relief stopped? You believe that the Jamaicans on the western part of the island are now okay? Do you believe that you still don't have hungry people? You believe that people still don't now live under the stars? You believe that people still don't have food, shelter, clothing? You don't believe that some people are still marooned in the western, but you hear anything about it? What have you heard from the government in any serious way as it relates to the many Jamaican citizens who are out there looking up to the heavens, wondering when their change will come? Ladies and gentlemen, let us not get too caught up with a lot of these media outlets, because I'm going to tell you something about media, the press, and how a lot of these outlets can be connected to political agendas. I'm talking about what I've studied. Right across our world, a lot of governments, they have ties, shares, and footholds in a lot of these media houses, and they have an agenda. And if we're not careful, we get caught up in a whole lot of different things and we forget the real issues at hand. So yes, I am sorry that many persons crashed recently. If you were following the news, a lot of accidents happened over the little holiday. And I'm wondering what is happening. Persons' lives were snuffed out from the face of this earth. I'm sorry to hear all of that. But let us understand what is really happening in this country. Thousands of our Jamaican brothers and sisters. Today, ladies and gentlemen, one of my church brothers testified in church and said that in Trelawney, you still have light posts in the road. People still maroon. People still don't have food. He packed a barrel for his family members. And it was so bad to the point that her household had to just share up the barrel for persons in the community because no government aid is going down there. No government aid is reaching many of these people. So people have to be taking matters into their own hands. So where is the government? Where is the government? People silent, getting distracted, blowing all over the place by every and any wind of doctrine. Because of what? It's not making news anymore? Or is it intentionally being placed on the back burner? Or is it that the aim for many of these news outlets is just to report what seems to be hot and trending? I'm going to speak tonight. I have to hold many of our media houses accountable as well. Don't communicate to me what is hot and trending in your eyes. Report to me what is necessary and important for the Jamaican people to know. And Mr. Pernell Charles Jr. is going to tell me at how much $1 million were spent on relief. Would we still have people who don't get no food yet? God, I ask you please to have mercy. Have mercy. This is how we are ending 2025. This is how we are ending. This was probably one of the worst Christmas for me. I don't celebrate Christmas. I'm going to make it abundantly clear. I don't celebrate Christmas like how many others. I wasn't brought up in a household where we put up Christmas tree and pepper lights. We don't believe in that stuff. If you do it, big up yourself. You know, I don't think God is going to send you to hell for doing it. But we don't do it here. What I would do is spend time with my family and friends. We eat, we play domino every year, and that's it. And that's all we do. And it makes me feel so good. But even if I wanted to do something a little extra this year, ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't do it. I didn't go anywhere else. Because every time I want to make a move, ladies and gentlemen, I remember that many Jamaicans are living under the stars, the open heavens. If snow was falling in Jamaica, many people would have frozen to death. So I'm asking tonight, what type of Merry Christmas did you have? Was it really merry? Or did you have to force yourself to enjoy it? It didn't come natural, don't it? Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. How can I be happy when I'm living in a country where the rich will only get richer and the poor will only get poorer? How can I have a Happy New Year when we see people at the upper echelons of our society getting away with evils, murder, blasphemy, and other abominable acts simply because of their last name, the money that they have in the bank, the friends that they have in their corner, who the name of their lawyer is? How can I be happy, ladies and gentlemen, when we have a prime minister who can tell a blatant lie and nobody is, oh, you didn't know that the prime minister is a liar? Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Hugh Beckford made a post 17 hours ago on Facebook. And I addressed this when I was over by PDTV. I addressed this. I alluded to it. I didn't get to fully flesh it out. But it is a conversation that a lot of persons are not having. And I'm going to say this again. I do not hate this man because I have to go to heaven. I don't have no place in my heart to hate anybody. The prime minister will not allow me to lose my soul. So I don't hate him. But he's the prime minister, so he must be held accountable. Before I address him, let me read what Mr. Beckford put up. A historical correction to the prime minister's claim on IFI access. Let us read this. I want persons to hear me and hear me well. In a recent address to the House of Representatives, the Prime Minister asserted, listen, when you're assertive, it means that you're sure about what you're saying. The Prime Minister asserted that 20 to 30 years ago, Jamaica was not in a position to borrow from international financial institutions. That's what you call the FIIs. Because of poor borrowing reputation. That claim is merely misleading. It is historically indefensible. Listen to how people can grandstand to the point that they will tell a lie and probably don't even know that they're telling a lie. You see, lying is a dangerous thing, you know. Listen to me. Lying is you see, when you lie to the point where you don't even know when you're telling a lie, my God, you're in a very dark place. If you can lie to the point where you can't even catch yourself and say, no man, Perry, but you know, so make me tell you, so that wasn't true. If you're going to lie to the point where you don't even know when you're lying, you can't even tell when you're lying, then you're in a very dangerous place. We're approaching the 1 hour mark soon. But hear this. 30 years ago, Jamaica was exiting, not excluded from the IMF by the mid to 1990s. Jamaica had successfully completed a long and demanding series of IMF programs. In 1996, Prime Minister P.J. Patterson publicly announced the end of Jamaica's borrowing relationship with the International Monetary Fund. This was not because Jamaica was unable to borrow. This is how you dispel, refuse, and rubbish propaganda, disinformation, and misinformation from the Prime Minister of Jamaica and his administration. This was not because Jamaica was unable to borrow, but because it had met approximately 20 consecutive IMF performance tests and no longer required fund support. That's the reason why. Look at how the Prime Minister, another time we'll look at that video again. But do you remember when the Prime Minister came out and in a very divisive way, he said that we are going to wage war against misinformation, propaganda, disinformation, and he will go toe to toe with anybody who doesn't adhere to the script. That's what he said. So let me ask the Prime Minister a question tonight. Are you willing to fight against yourself? Are you willing to fight against yourself? Because you cannot preach something that you don't practice. But let's continue reading this article. Mr. Beckford is talking. I personally recall a PNP meeting at Halfway Tree Square in the late 1996, at which Prime Minister Patterson explained that Jamaica had earned the credibility to stand on its own. A country that completes IMF conditionality and exits a program by choice cannot, by any serious definition, be described as financially discredited or locked out of the international system. How can that make sense? If you are strong enough to stand on your own, let me break it down. If a baby starts to walk, he was creeping before, but the baby start to walk, and you see the baby walking. So the baby stop hold on to mommy hand now because the baby can walk. Isn't it ridiculous for you to come and say that the baby, because the baby refuses help, is because the baby can't walk? It is because the baby can walk on its own. Why the baby refuses to hold on to mommy and daddy's hand again? And we've seen it with children. Children, once they realize that they can walk and run, they run up and down all over the place. Till mommy and daddy start get miserable. That is the reasoning and the illogical thinking of this administration. That because we stop borrow money from them, it is because we are financially unstable and we're not credible. It's stupidness, it's madness. 20 years ago, no IMF program, no borrowing need. By 2005, Jamaica was not under any IMF agreement, nor was it seeking one. The absence of IMF or IFI borrowing at that time reflected policy choice and circumstance, not exclusion. Jamaica still had access to international capital markets and its debt, though high, was being serviced. It is is a sad state. When the country's leadership has to resort to outright lies to buttress its current position. Beyond that, it is equally false to conflate not borrowing with not being able to borrow. Stupidness for true. No useful purpose is being served beyond deepening the current political divide among Jamaicans by making false claims. This is not leadership, and I agree. The actual break in credibility came later. Jamaica's return to the IMF occurred in 2009 to 2010 under the Bruce Golding-led JLP administration following the global financial crisis and years of fiscal deterioration. During this period, Jamaica lost effective access to international capital markets. As a matter of fact, it was the opposite. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who are asking what time I would go live, it would be around 6, 5:45, 6, thereabout. So from about 5:45 to 6 p.m., I'm going to try my best to commit to that time every evening. All right, until something else may be better. But that's what we're committing to, 5:45 to 6 p.m. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, it was actually the opposite. It wasn't the PNP who brought Jamaica to a place where they lost international credibility to borrow. It happened under the JLP administration. How persons are not talking about that? And I'm going to take my time to say this to the People's National Party. We are here on the ground, speaking up and speaking out. But it carries more weight when you get up and bring these things to the forefront. Yes, we are here. I'm not the only one. We have many persons who are on social media bringing these things to the forefront. But it will do us a lot of good if the opposition also follow these conversations, debunk the lies, rather. Debunk the misinformation, propaganda, and disinformation. As a matter of fact, I will have to make a TikTok video about this. This is a blatant lie. Under the Bruce Golding-led JLP administration following the global financial crisis and years of fiscal deterioration, during this period, 1, Jamaica lost effective access to international capital markets. 2, the government undertook the Jamaica Debt Exchange, JDX, in 2010, imposing losses on domestic holders. 3, an IMF standby arrangement was negotiated to restore macroeconomic stability and credibility. While Jamaica did not default on IMF obligations, the debt exchange and market lockout marked the first time in the country's history that creditors were compelled to restructure under duress, a clear signal of reputational stress. It is important that Jamaicans be made aware that this experience came under the Jamaica Labour Party. The historical record is unambiguous. 30 years ago, Jamaica exited the IMF from a position of compliance and credibility. Equally, 20 years ago, Jamaica was not borrowing because it did not need to. The loss of borrowing flexibility and reputational stain emerged after 2009, not before. To suggest otherwise is to invert history. There are misstatements, and then there are claims that collapse under even the most cursory examination of facts. This falls squarely in the latter category. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask the Prime Minister a few questions. To you, Mr. Holness. To you, Mr. Holness. I am asking you tonight, when are you going to fight against your own misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda? When are you going to fight against the blatant lies that you have told? When are you going to hold yourself accountable for the many unscrupulous statements that you have made, not just in Parliament, but in other places? When are you going to give yourself the same energy that you gave the people of Jamaica when in innocence many asked for transparency, many questioned the relief effort post Hurricane Melissa? What did you do? You went up on a public platform and you waged war against misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda. That's what you did. But you're selective with your fight, Mr. Prime Minister, and that for me is unacceptable. You cannot determine when it is right to fight against misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda if you yourself recognize that you have missed the mark. It is the onus is upon you to come out and clarify your statements. What you've done, Mr. Prime Minister, is to blatantly mislead the people of Jamaica. Be it JLP, be it PMP, we are all Jamaicans, and you have misled this country. You have stood upon lies. You have stood upon lies, propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation in order to make your administration look good. By extension, the political party that you are the president for. You're a liar. So I dare you to try and send me any letter about cease and desist. You don't even try to play that game with me. Is you said the lie. January, ladies and gentlemen, will be taking calls in the evening shows. Don't worry about it. It's coming. Mr. Prime Minister, you must be a beacon of integrity, respect, fairness, equity, of good standing. Ladies and gentlemen, you must understand that once a political figure has risen to the office of Prime Minister, there is no place for partisan statements and divisive language. You should not ever descend into propaganda, misinformation to make yourself look good and your party. You should never have to descend to that. Look at the irony, ladies and gentlemen. Throughout the entire campaign, ladies and gentlemen, the JLP convinced many Jamaicans that it is the PNP who uses propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation to garner support. But the irony is real. And oh ho, cock mouth kill cock. Because it is the same man who blamed somebody else for doing this thing is the same person who is doing the same thing. But I want to say this to you, Mr. Prime Minister, and to the Jamaica Labour Party, that you are a liar, and every liar is a thief. And is one place I know thieves belong. Thieves belong in prison. Go and sit beside those who were on the SSL executive body who they are questioning, because one by one you all shall be going to jail.
Because one by one you no go into jail. One by you no go into one by
Me ever fresh, me no green.
Me coulda never green, dog. Me not.
Could never be a Labourite. Could never be a Labour. You know why I couldn't be a Labourite? You know why I couldn't be a Labourite? I can't be a Labourite because Labourites have a tendency to try and rewrite history. I cannot be a Labourite because Labourites are willing to accuse people of one thing but go ahead and do the very same thing. I cannot be a Labourite because Labourites are willing to lie right in your face, blatantly, eyes wide open. The audacity of this administration. To the SSL people, when them bring them to go prison, if the investigation is indeed completed and you recognize that them guilty for true, please tell them, don't sprawl off in the prison bed. Make space for some of these politicians. Don't just think of Uno alone and go in there. Make space, because many of these politicians, time will catch up on them. Time will catch up on them. Don't think it's them alone going to prison. Make space, because 2026 will be a year of revelation. Mark my words tonight. 2026 will be a year where a lot of things shall be revealed. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. It is just a matter of time. Ladies and gentlemen, they can say what they want to say. I might tell a joke, but I'll never tell a lie. And the truth is tonight is that this administration has proven that they are willing to lie to ensure that they have political relevance. It is at an all-time low what I've experienced in this political playfield, on this political playground. If you have to resort to blatant lies in order to be relevant and in order to try and sway public's opinion, then, ladies and gentlemen, there is a serious issue. If that is what you have to do to try and convince people that you are the best thing since sliced bread, then that bread is spoiled. But I blame many of us as Jamaicans because we didn't check the expiry date. Best thing since sliced bread. That bread has moles on it, ladies and gentlemen. Because when I look at how this administration has blatantly lied, somebody say we have to wait. I'm waiting. I want to see what will happen, ladies and gentlemen. I want to see what will happen. Let me say this because I'm gonna go soon. But let me tell you this. Let us reflect on how Jamaica has performed since the election. I'm not trying to influence anybody's thought. You do an introspection on your own, ladies and gentlemen. Look in yourself. Do some reflection. Do some reflection. What was Jamaica like after the election? Listen to me. I'm going to say it. Ladies and gentlemen, since the general election, Jamaica went on a downhill spiral. Everything was happening down that hill. Since the general election, it is the first I've seen such a chain reaction. As JLP win, my God Almighty, as JLP win, one of the very first things that I recognized happened was a spike in the suicide rate. You don't remember? Until I said, somehow we're too quick to forget. Thank you, my first 1,000 live viewers on live. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Since I know that before it was terrible, but immediately, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as the country, as soon as the country knows says JLP win, crosses. Now, you may say that I'm probably too spiritual, but that's okay. I'm a spiritual man. Let me tell you something. You see, whenever a country diverts from the plan of God, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I personally don't believe that the plan for Jamaica by the will of God was for the Prime Minister HOLNESS to be Prime Minister again. That is my personal opinion. You can't fight me for my opinion. It just doesn't feel right. A lot of persons are saying it. It just doesn't feel right. Since the Prime Minister won the election, it felt there was this tense, dark, monotonous feeling. It was melancholic. It was almost depressing. The suicide rate went up. Police brutality at an all-time high. Children going missing left, right, and center. It was just back-to-back crosses. Say that I'm superstitious. Say that I'm too spiritual. say that I'm a fanatic. That's what I felt. It didn't feel right. And I've said it before, that the JLP experienced what I call a Pyrrhic victory. Go and look it up. If you know what a Pyrrhic victory is, put it in the comments and let me highlight your message. I'll highlight your comment when I see the right meaning. It's called a Pyrrhic victory. The JLP won, but the cost to which they had to cover to win, it felt like a loss. I saw no celebration from the Jamaica Labour Party after they won. No celebration. None. None. You would think it was the People's National Party who won. I said not one proper celebration I saw. Prudence come in with a nice definition. Straight to the point. A victory in which victory feels like a loss. Ladies and gentlemen, the JLP experienced a Pyrrhic victory. They won, but the cost that was paid to win, ladies and gentlemen, they felt it. They couldn't feel happy, they couldn't smile, they couldn't jump and shout and gallivant. Here's another nice definition. Come in, Charlie Spence. Win achieved at such a devastating cost that it's almost equivalent to a defeat. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that whatever win that they are trying to convince us that they were happy in receiving, they would have wished that they got that win in another way. Because I'm telling you, the Jamaica Labour Party machinery was severely affected since this election. I know a lot of persons are afraid to say it, but take it from somebody who actually studied politics. Thank the Lord that I was able to complete university and I can share my knowledge with you. Political science tells me, ladies and gentlemen, and based on my observation in this political season, it is very sure that the JLP has lost political credibility. The Jamaica Labour Party lost political credibility since the general election. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. The machinery of the JLP is wounded. But what the JLP have mastered, and I must give them credit for this, is the whole business of marketing. They will spend millions on marketing, ladies and gentlemen. They will spend millions on marketing and PR. They will spend millions on making things look beautiful when it's actually ugly. They will spend millions, ladies and gentlemen, on making things look as if all is well. And that's the reason why many persons are not they're still asleep. They have not yet woken up to the truth. So it seems as if the JLP has everything together. It's just good marketing. Listen, the JLP has good marketing. Let us give them a round of applause. They cannot say that Perry is biased. The Jamaica Labour Party has good marketing skills. I will give you an applause. But don't be fooled by the fancy speeches, the grandstanding, the lovely articles, and the fancy words. I have seen with my own eyes that the Jamaica Labour Party has lost political credibility. But many of us are still blinded by propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation that they claim to fight against. You know how I know that the Jamaica Labour Party and this administration specifically has lost political credibility? When I see the Minister of Finance Hi, Auntie Favor. I'm praying for you. And don't take, you know I'm not playing when I tell you that I've prayed for you. But I'm still praying for you. I told you to run like Joseph. Run, Favor, run. You know, when I realized that the JLP has lost political credibility is when I saw the Minister of Finance like a fish out of water, clueless as to how the monies are being spent in Jamaica in an effort to relieve the people from Hurricane Melissa and the treacherous jaws that had them trapped. When I saw Minister Faval coming out clueless, not knowing one thing that is happening in the government financially, I recognize, ladies and gentlemen, that the JLP has lost credibility. When I saw Auntie Faval come out unable to follow a script, unable to fit in, then they're trying to fit in Auntie Faval in the clique and in the she can't fit in. It's not within her nature. I'm not defending her, but it's true. You can see it. Anybody with discernment, you can discern and know when somebody not fit in it, you know. That's not her. But it's as if she has gone too deep. She has gone too far. She's unable to follow the script. So when she talk, she doesn't even know what she's saying. She can't even convince her own self. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. 2026 will be a year of exposure. It will be a year of revelation. Think it not strange that we have ended 2025 on this note. Think it not strange that a lot of things are coming to the forefront. Think it not strange that many skirts are being lifted because exposure must happen. Think it not strange that the dust that was swept under the carpet is slowly seeping out, and the keeper of the house is saying, "What is this? I thought the house was clean, but when I walk on the carpet, housekeeper, I recognize that dust is coming from under it." Think it not strange. If you continue to sweep dust under the carpet, it's only a matter of time before the dust comes out and everybody in the household is affected. Sorry for those who have signed us, because the time is coming when exposure will be happening rapidly in this country. There will be a great cry, ladies and gentlemen, in this country, because people think that they would get away with all sort of criminality and foolishness. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Perry Cummings Jr. Thank you for tuning into The Perspective. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We will try to be here by 5:45 to 6. And that's where we will start our evening conversations. The official launch is going to start January 1st, January 2nd. That's where we will do the official launch. So these lives, they are just leading us up to what we really want to do. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the love. I appreciate everything that I've been feeling, that I've been seeing, so that Jamaica may, under God, they will increase. We must increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity. We must play our part. We must play our part as we continue to advance the welfare of the whole human race. Jamaica can see better. I refuse to accept mediocre leadership and call it the standard. I refuse to accept half-hearted leadership and call it a cut above the rest. I refuse to accept lies, propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation, and we call it truth. I refuse to accept that. Until another time, we'll talk. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Whoa.